they never warn you about this part. Every philosophy book talks about how to live. Almost none tell you how to lose everything without breaking, and why that loss is often the doorway to real wealth. Here is the forbidden truth. Most people don't fail because they lack money. They fail because they cannot survive without it. The Stoics understood this centuries ago, not as monks, not as dreamers, but as men who ruled empires, survived exile, lost fortunes, and rebuilt power from nothing. This is not a motivational speech. This is a survival manual for collapse, and a blueprint for rising richer, sharper, and untouchable. Let's start with the first lie modern culture sells you. Security creates success. The Stoics would laugh at this. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire on earth and trained every day for loss. Seneca was one of the richest men in Rome and practiced poverty on purpose. Epictetus began life as a slave and ended it as one of the most powerful minds in history. They all shared one dangerous belief. Comfort weakens judgment. When everything is stable, you grow soft. When income is predictable, your thinking becomes lazy. When status is guaranteed, you stop seeing reality. And reality always punishes blindness. Stoicism begins with a brutal exercise called premeditatio malorum. It means rehearse disaster, not to fear it, but to remove its power over you. The Stoic asks questions most people avoid. What if I lose my income tomorrow? What if my reputation collapses? What if the market turns against me? What if everything I built disappears overnight? Most people flinch at these thoughts. The Stoic sits with them, because once you've mentally lost everything, you're no longer hostage to anything. And a man who cannot be threatened becomes dangerous. Here's where wealth enters the picture. Modern wealth is fragile. It's built on leverage, attention, algorithms, trends, and systems you don't control. Stoic wealth is different. It's built on internal leverage, skills that survive markets, judgment that survives chaos, reputation that survives resets, discipline that survives boredom and panic alike. The Stoics didn't chase money. They built the kind of mind money follows. They're the line from Seneca that terrifies weak thinkers. He is most powerful who has power over himself. Read that again. In modern terms, it means this. If losing money destroys your identity, you are never wealthy. If losing status destroys your confidence, you are never powerful. If losing comfort destroys your discipline, you are never in control. Stoicism teaches you to detach without disengaging. You still play the game. You still build. You still accumulate. But you're not emotionally fused to outcomes. That detachment gives you an unfair advantage. Think about how most people behave during financial collapse. They panic. They cling. They make emotional decisions. They sell at the bottom. They beg for stability instead of creating opportunity. The Stoic does the opposite because they train for this moment. Loss doesn't shock them. It activates them. While others freeze, they calculate. While others complain, they reposition. While others mourn comfort, they exploit change. This is why downturns make new rich men and wipe out old ones. Here's the paradox no one wants to admit. You don't get rich by protecting what you have. You get rich by being able to rebuild from nothing. Stoicism removes your fear of starting over. And once starting over no longer scares you, you take bolder, smarter risks. Not reckless risks, calculated ones. Because you know, even if this fails, I remain intact. That mindset alone separates builders from employees, leaders from followers, owners from renters. Epictetus taught something radical. You may be bound in chains, but your mind remains free. Translate that into modern wealth language. Your bank account can hit zero. Your business can collapse. Your network can disappear. But if your mind stays disciplined, rational, and strategic, your earning power is untouched. Most people reverse this. They build accounts before character, revenue before resilience, lifestyle before leverage. Stoicism flips the order, and the order matters. Now let's talk about voluntary hardship, the most misunderstood Stoic practice. The Stoics would intentionally sleep on the floor, eat simple food, or plain clothes, even when they were rich. Why? To remind themselves of this truth. I have survived worse than this. This destroys fear. When you know you can live without luxury, luxury loses control over you. When you know you can endure discomfort, risk becomes easier. When you know you don't need approval, negotiation power shifts in your favor. This is how Stoics walked into rooms with kings and didn't bow. Modern wealth culture teaches you to avoid pain. Stoicism teaches you to befriend it. Not because pain is noble, but because pain is instructive. Every loss teaches you something comfort never will. It strips away illusions. It exposes weak systems. It reveals fake allies. It clarifies what actually matters. The Stoic doesn't ask, why me? He asks, what is this training me for? That single question turns setbacks into assets. Here's the quiet truth most gurus won't say out loud. Many people get rich once. Very few can do it twice. Stoicism trains you to be a repeatable wealth creator. Not dependent on luck. Not dependent on timing. Not dependent on one big win. You become anti-fragile. Every collapse strengthens your judgment. Every loss sharpens your strategy. Every failure upgrades your system. That's not motivation. That's compounding. Marcus Aurelius wrote his private thoughts never meant for public eyes. One line stands out like a threat to mediocrity. Do not act as if you had 1,000 years to live. This isn't about death. It's about urgency. Stoicism destroys procrastination. When you accept impermanence, you stop waiting. You stop negotiating with comfort. You stop delaying hard decisions. You move. And in markets, speed plus clarity is lethal. Now connect all of this. When you no longer fear loss. When comfort no longer controls you. When identity is not tied to money. When judgment stays intact under pressure. You see opportunities others miss. You buy when others beg to sell. You build while others wait for permission. You speak while others stay silent. You act while others cope. This is why Stoics didn't need hype. They needed time, and time always rewards discipline. Let me leave you with a real Stoic formula for wealth. Lose attachment before you lose assets. Build the mind before the empire. Train for collapse before chasing expansion. Because when everything falls apart, the man who expected it inherits the future, and the man who feared it becomes a footnote. That is the Stoic's guide to losing everything and getting rich anyway.